If pastor can't train his daughter, what is he preaching to us? He shouts about sin every Sunday. Now his only daughter is pregnant with no husband. A leader's home must first be holy. A church member whispered. How it all started. In Grace Chapel, Pastor Daniel was known as the man closest to God. His sermons could move grown men to tears. His wife, Mommy Joy, ran the women's fellowship. And their only daughter, Kosi, led the choir. Her voice could melt hearts. When she sang Amazing Grace, even the ushers forgot to collect offering. To the church, they were the perfect family, God's example of holiness. Until one morning, Kosi fainted on the choir stand. Members rushed forward. Water. Fan her. When she woke, her mother's trembling hands held her. At first, everyone thought she was just tired. But weeks later, her belly began to grow and the small roundness seen beneath her gown. Whispers started like termites in wood. Is she? Pastor's daughter. Pregnant. With who? The rumors grew louder than the Sunday hymns. Pastor's daughter, pregnant. No husband. Huh. What a shame. Mommy Joy cried silently every night. Pastor Daniel's face hardened. He stopped speaking to his daughter except through short, cutting words. You've destroyed my name, he said one night. Kosi tried to speak but tears drowned her words. From that day, he avoided her shadow, praying louder, preaching harder, as if noise could cover his shame. The pastor's residence once rang with laughter and prayers. Now it echoed with footsteps and anger. Mommy Joy tried to make peace. She's still our child, she whispered. But Pastor Daniel snapped, she's an embarrassment. Kosi stopped attending church. She stayed in her room, singing hymns softly to herself, her voice breaking between verses. Some nights, she wrote in her diary, Lord, if truth ever speaks, let it be louder than their judgment. Outside, tongues wagged. Imagine. The pastor's daughter with a secret man. Deacons' wives exchanged pity and disgust. But Mommy Joy saw something in Kosi's eyes, not guilt, but quiet pain. Still, she said nothing. Because she, too, was keeping something she wasn't ready to reveal. It was Communion Sunday, the day everything broke. The church overflowed. Banners read, Holiness unto the Lord. As Pastor Daniel preached, his eyes landed on Kosi sitting quietly in the back row. Some of you claim to serve God but live in sin, he thundered. Whispers spread. All eyes turned to Kosi. Then he did the unthinkable. Stand up, Kosi. Her hands trembled. Tell this church what you've done. Tears filled her eyes. Papa, please. Confess, he shouted. You've shamed my calling. The congregation gasped. Mommy Joy sobbed. Kosi fell to her knees. I am pregnant, she whispered. But I am not a sinner. Laughter. Mamas. Someone hissed, what does that even mean? Pastor Daniel dropped the mic and stormed off the pulpit, face burning with fury. The crowd buzzed, and that's when the doors creaked open. Sunlight spilled into the hall. Everyone turned. A woman in a gown stepped forward, Amora, Kosi's elder sister who had moved abroad years ago. Behind her stood her husband and a female doctor. Papa, Amora said gently, please don't move. We need to speak. Pastor Daniel froze. Amora's husband held up an envelope. Medical documents from St. Luke's Hospital. It's time everyone knows the truth. Gasps rippled across the room. The doctor opened the file. Kosi agreed to carry her sister's child, she explained softly. Amora cannot conceive. Your daughter volunteered as a surrogate so her sister could have a family. The church went silent. Pastor Daniel's hands shook. His lips quivered. He looked at Kosi, the daughter he had condemned, now radiant in her brokenness. Amora's eyes welled. She carried our child out of love, not lust. She saved our marriage, and you shamed her for it. Mommy Joy collapsed into a pew, sobbing uncontrollably. Deacon stared in disbelief. The man who had shouted about sin fell to his knees. "Kosi," Pastor Daniel whispered, voice trembling, "forgive me. I was blind." Kosi knelt beside him, took his shaking hand, and said, "Papa, I already forgave you. I only prayed truth would speak." And it had. Months later, a small cry filled the hospital ward. A baby girl, Chamlom, was born. Kosi held her gently while Amora stood by, smiling through tears. Pastor Daniel and Mommy Joy entered quietly. He looked at the child, then at his daughter. "I see God's mercy in her eyes," he said. Kosi smiled faintly. "And I see yours." Back at Grace Chapel, things changed. Pastor Daniel's sermon softened. He preached less about punishment, and more about compassion. He renamed the church program Grace Restored. One Sunday, he told the congregation, "I once thought holiness meant perfection. But now I know, it means love." The church stood and clapped. Kosi joined the choir again, her voice strong and free. Outside, as the family posed for a photo, sunlight bathed them all, a quiet symbol that the God who sees shame also restores dignity. Moral of the story. The loudest holiness is silent love. Judgment can break a home, but truth and mercy can build it again. Sometimes, the sinner you condemn is the saint you didn't understand. If this story touched your heart, please, like, comment where you are watching from and follow us for more true African folktales. The end. See you next time.